Hello and welcome to Manibil. As I mentioned in a recent important update, I am sort of dwindling down a bit here on Manibil in order to reconsider my approach to doing this thing we're doing here, right? Or I am doing that you are possibly following, right? I don't like that we thing, as you know, right? But I did mention that there might be a one-off video if I sort of felt like it, and looking through my Twitter feed, I certainly came across something here that I really want to, to dive into, and it's because it's right up my alley, right? Now, I feel I have really studied very closely uh, the most important insight of Hume, which is known as the is-ought gap or the Hume's guillotine, Hume's law, and there's a few others possibly, right? And in my Twitter feed, there was an update from Essentia Foundation. Usually, it's not something that I normally consider interesting, but this one caught my eye, right? And it's because the title is The Source of Ought. Now, as you mentioned before, Hume is famous for a quote in his book called The Treatise of Human Nature from 1839 to 1842 or something like that, right? Issued in 3 or 4 volumes. And possibly the most, what's the term I'm looking for? Haunting part of that book is what has become known as the is-ought gap, right? Which is basically remove the carpet under 99.9, approaching 100% of all moral philosophies, right? At least until Hume, right? There might be somebody who tried to find new avenues and a whole set uh, of philosophy known as meta ethics could be argued has evolved from this quote in the Treatise of Human Nature by Hume, right? So this is an absolutely pivotal corner of ethics, right? If you're doing sort of traditional ethics, you have to deal with the is-ought gap. Or at least you have to be aware of the potential fallacy that Hume, rightfully, in my opinion, pointed out back then. Now, I had to add that this particular article, I have only seen the Twitter update and the headline here. So it was issued yesterday, or at least it's the 27th of March today, and it was issued 26th of March, 2023, which was yesterday according to my calendar, right? So it's a fairly new thing, and it's by somebody called Darren Allen. And as I said, I haven't read it. I have no clue what is going to be presented here. I'm going to do my good old-fashioned deconstruction, and this is without having any notion of what he's going to attempt to prove about this so-called, as he called, the source of ought, which is all attempts I have seen so far have been futile, linguistic, uh, twisting semantics in order to maybe I can sort of extract an ought from whatever, right? I have never seen anybody do this in any coherent manner, right? Nothing. It always ends up in sort of understandings of words and manipulating words and basically sophistry of some kind, right? So, and it's also a very good idea to have a very clear understanding of the quote from the book, right? I have done that at least one video in my feed on YouTube on this channel here, where I go through the whole of the important part of that quote in his book, The Treatise of Human Nature from 1739. If I said 1839, I meant 1739, right? Early on. So it's about almost 300 years old, right? And you have to read the quote and understand what he's trying to say and not overinterpret what he's saying. Hume, right? It seems that most people who are trying to deal with this quote haven't really understood what Hume was writing, right? So please, I'll try to remember to put a link down below so you will have a decent. I might want you to ask you to go and listen to that video, which I'm trying to make sure that I put a link down below, where I go through very specifically the sentence by sentence, word by word, how I think it should be understood, and also how I think it shouldn't be understood when compared to how I see other people interpreting this particular quote, which usually, in my opinion, reeks of the notion that they haven't actually read the quote. They have only heard the sentence, you can't get an ought from an is, right? So okay, so let's dive in and see what it says, right? So I hope that my scrolling here fits with the window. It looks like it. Okay, so I'm going to take this because this is if I'm fanboying any philosopher in the history of philosophy, it would be David Hume, right? Granted, I haven't even gotten close to reading all his stuff, all his writings, because I like to take it very, very deconstructive, and it takes a lot of time to get through a book, right? I can't read it casually. Then I wouldn't even do it, right? But I have read parts that I find to be important aspects. These are like, the is-ought gap, induction and causality and these things, right? These are the three big ones of Hume, right? I try to understand how he phrases that. And this is possibly my most what's it called? In my opinion, in philosophy, if there would be something that would be the holy grail of philosophy, then it would be this kind of bridging the is-ought gap, or as they say here or this guy Darren Allen says, the source of ought, right? Now, even if you have the source of ought, I don't know if he thinks he has got it. Let's see how it goes later, right? But even if you have the source of ought, doesn't mean you necessarily understand what to do with an ought in sort of a moral context, right? If you have a source of ought, how do you go about acting according to this sort of ought thing, right? That's not necessarily clear, right? But, one thing at a time. Okay, so let me take it sentence by sentence, right? And if this turns into a multi-parter, so be it. I'm going to take this very, very, very scrutinized and very closely, right? Okay. This is one of the most extraordinary and impactful Let me take that one again, right? Okay. This is one of the most extraordinary and impactful essays we've published. It pokes it's already in the we, right? We are in this we philosophy. It pokes Don't tell me what it pokes in me, unless you don't count me as a reader into that we, right? The flags are up immediately, right? Our editorial sensitivities. Okay, so our is not our. It's not me included. It's those in the editor room on Essentia Foundation who are what? Is that Darren Allen? So it's not Darren Allen who has written this. Okay, let's see. I have to understand what. As I said, I haven't read the article yet, right? Okay. As to conjure up good reasons not to publish it. But after we softened our attention to discern its inherent qualities as opposed to its mere existence as a fact, to its mere existence as a fact. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. We realize that there is no editorial decision to be made here. And we trust you will agree with us at the end. If you stick with the red despite your own, I had to say, read that again. And we trust you will agree with us at the end if you stick with the red despite your own sensitivities. Sticks with the red? The written? Yeah, okay. The essay relates directly to idealism in a very Schopenhauerian sense. Okay. Regarding terminology, there is just one important thing readers should keep in mind. The author uses the term quality not as quale or experience, but in the sense of a value judgment. Oh my God. So now we are conflating the... Why choose that term, right? Of all the terms, you could call it Donald Duck instead, right? Why use the term quality? That is basically using qualia, right? So, and qualia is that which Hume tries to say you can't use, right? You can't use qualia to get to knowledge, to get to ethical commandments, right? You can't get a pejorative, what is it called? A categorical out of an experience, right? A quality. The experiences we are dealing with when we are referring to a potential ill-sort is through empiricism, which is the qualia, which is qualities of experiences. And now he wants to use quality in the sense of a value judgment. So he's confusing the terms, man. I'm already very, 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 very skeptical about this, right? He's trying to confuse the terms. It's just as I said before, right? When I started, they're screwing with the terms. They're fiddling about with the semantics, right? It's obviously, at least he says that's what he's going to do, is just going around with the words. Oh, man. Okay. David Hume, one of the earliest critics of rationality, pointed out that you cannot derive an ought from an is. No, that's not what he said. He didn't say that. It's in quotes, right? Give me the fucking quote where he says that, please. Give it to me, right? Where does he say that? He pointed out that you, quote, cannot derive an ought from an is, right? Okay, I guess cannot is not a part of the quote here. He should have put the quotes before the cannot, right? Otherwise, the term derive an ought from an is, it has no point, right? So there's a problem there. You should have put the first quote, or what are they called? These. Meaning that it is impossible to reach any moral conclusion about what is right and wrong, or good or bad, from the facts alone. To put this another way, it is impossible to find quality in quantity. No! Not quality in quantity. No. Get back to the drawing board, mate, right? You have to read the fucking quote. You have just been told you can't get an ought from an is because your professor said so, and he's just regurgitating what somebody else told him, who has not read the actual quote from the treatise, right? Maybe I should bring it up. Just for, I'm bringing it up. I have to. Hume is ought. Let's see. Sorry if it takes a little while. The is-ought problem. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Now, listen carefully, right? Listen carefully. I shall say this only once. It is I, Leclerc. In every system of morality which I have hitherto met with, I have always remarked that the author proceeds for some time in the ordinary way of reasoning and establishes the being of a god or makes observations concerning human affairs, when of a sudden I'm surprised to find that instead of the usual compilation of proposition is and is not, I meet with no proposition that is not connected with an ought or an ought not. This change is imperceptible, but is, however, of the last consequence. For as this ought or ought not expresses some new relation or affirmation, it's necessary that it should be observed and explained, and at the same time that a reason should be given for what seems altogether inconceivable. Now, this term inconceivable has apparently been rephrased to impossible. There's a huge difference between inconceivable and impossible, right? If you were to go and ask Hume in 1739 whether or not you could fly from London to New York, right? He would say, possibly. I would consider that. He would say, it's completely inconceivable to me, right? But I can't rule it out. Birds can fly, right? And so on to whatever, right? It's inconceivable to me, but that's not the same as he's saying it's impossible, right? If you say it's impossible to go to the moon, it's different from saying it's inconceivable for me how to go to the moon. And it still is, I might add, right? Even though somebody claims differently. It's inconceivable is not the same as saying it's impossible. Okay? Get that through your thick skull. And not my trusty fans, but those who can't seem to grasp this out there, right? How this new relation can be a deduction from others which are entirely different from it. Yes, because people say, well, I experienced this, I experienced that, this person said this, did that, describing the world, and therefore you should or shouldn't. And as if that experience, that empirical qualia somehow deduces into a categorical. At least that's how they argue, right? Because in my opinion, what is going on really is a sophist, an unconscious or unaware sophist approach to make it look like a deduction. But it's basically just a camouflaged commandment pulled out of their ass, right? Hume says, but as authors do not commonly use this precaution, I shall presume to recommend it to the readers, and am persuaded that this small attention would subvert all the vulgar systems of morality. Oh, I love that. That vulgar, oh, I love it, man. He's sort of, I love it. And let us see that the distinction of vice and virtue is not founded merely on the relation of objects, nor is perceived by reason. Now, I'm not particularly fond of the last bit, perceived by reason. But I think I understand what he thinks, right? People think that the reasoning they're doing back here has some relation to perception out here, and therefore, by some magic, morality arrives, right? Okay, so what is he actually trying to say, Hume? And I need to stress this, right? I mean, I might not be perfect. We can't ask Hume. He's dead, long dead, right? 1776. The year that his good friend Adam Smith issued or published the first real book on economics. He's trying to say, extent that should take precautions when you're arguing for morality. It might be wrapped in different kind of words, or is maybe if you're not, you can't do it if you're choose another word than ought or is, and then I can do it anyway. It's not about the words. In this sense, ought is a placeholder for any kind of moral statement. And it's up to you to decipher whether or not people are actually making moral statements or not. But if they are, it's almost bang on certain that they are arguing this fallacious way that Hume is pointing out. Right? So it's up to you to interpret the sentence, whether or not they're actually doing a moral commandment of some kind, right? And if they are, it's very, very likely that it's this stupid way of arguing they're using. I experience this, I experience that, therefore you shouldn't. Something like that, right? But he's not saying you can't get from an is to an ought. You can't just, but he says you can't just jump from it as if it's out of nowhere, right? There has to be some connection. There's a gap, there's something missing. There's something from the is side that you have to point to how that suddenly condenses into something that is a commandment. You can't just start to say, therefore you should or shouldn't, right? Out of nowhere. That thing that you placed before it that makes it look like a deductive argument has nothing to do with the morality of it, right? You may feel like it, but you can't point to it, right? Where is it, man, right? What color does it have? What sound does it have? What taste does it have? It has none of these, right? So it can't be empirical. So why are you making empirical statements over here before you start to order people around? So remove that shit, right? If it has nothing to do with the moral commandment, just stick to the moral commandment. But then it sounds like you're bossing people around by your, whimsical ideas, right? And therefore they take these, okay, I have these observations, I put them in front of the oughts, and then it sounds like I'm deducing it, right? But that's where Hume come in and say, no, you can't do that. At least you have to give me a very, 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 very good bridge between those ises and those oughts, right? Otherwise, get rid of it and then just try to order me around instead, which is basically without any kind of philosophy. And therefore it doesn't work either, right? Okay. Please go visit my Hume videos. I think they are less than 2 years old, but something, between 1 and 2 years old. Something like that, right? It shouldn't be hard to find. Okay, let's get back to the article. How far did I get? Let's take it here. David Hume, one of the earliest critics of rationality, pointed out that you cannot derive an ought from an is. No, he didn't, as I pointed out just now, right? Meaning that it is impossible to reach any more conclusion about what is right and wrong or good or bad from the facts alone. What facts? What is a fact, right? We need to have done some. That's also if he doesn't. This article doesn't point to any rigid metaphysics or any rigid epistemology, and a very clear distinction of what you mean by knowledge. We can't talk about facts, right? The facts, as if there are facts given to me here, right? What are those facts? What do you mean by a fact, right? So I'm already, right, okay, this is not going to crack it. I'm very, very skeptical, right? Or to put this another way, it is impossible to find quality in quantity. I don't know what this is, right? I'm very, very skeptical about this sentence here. To put this another way, why do you want to put it another way? Because the first time you put it in an incorrect way according to his quote, right? It is impossible to find quality in quantity. And quality was meant as a sense of value judgment. A sense of value judgment. Okay, I would actually need to, address that also. A sense of value judgment. What is that? Senses, is that empirical? Or is it linguistic, more in the meaning of rather than sense of? Then sense is a poorly chosen term to use here, right? When we're talking about qualities through senses and so on, right? Okay. Hume's is-ought problem has remained unsolved since he first presented it, for the simple and transparent reason that it cannot be solved. There are no qualities in isolated facts that are not brought to those facts in the experience of them. The only way to argue that there is to argue away the experience. I have to take that one again. There are no qualities in isolated facts. What's the difference between a fact and an isolated fact? An isolated facts. That qualities in isolated that are not brought to those facts in the experience of it. So if you have an elephant, an isolated elephant, there are no qualities in the elephant that are not brought to the elephant in the experience of it. So he's saying that people are looking for, attempting to argue that there is a quality to the elephant called morality that is actually not a part of the elephant. Is that what he's saying? The only way to argue that there is to argue away the experience. Well, if you don't have an experience, you don't even have a Hume's is-ought gap, right? You don't have the is if you don't have the experience. You have to have some is. You have to have some object. You have to have some qualia that you cognize, something like that, right? Okay. Take, for example, chocolate. Is it good? There is no ration. But is it good? What do you mean good? What is meant by? Do you mean does it taste good? Or is it not rotten? Or do you mean is it morally good or something like that? What do you mean by it? I mean, I don't like this fluffy kind of this is polemic, academic, semantic bullshit. Basically, I'm already my arms up, right? The flags are red, right? There is no rational answer to the question. What do you mean by a rational answer? Compared to an ordinary answer, right? Is it good? What do you mean by good? You need to clarify, man, right? No, I can't answer the question because you haven't clarified what you mean by it, right? So I can't answer the question if I don't understand what you mean when you say is it good, right? Is what good? What do you mean by good, right? No, I mean, when we're dealing with Hume, I would take the chance and say he means, is it moral? That's the only way I would, otherwise, why do I care whether or not it tastes good or any other kind of good, right? No goodness can be found in a bar of chocolate or cocoa bean or theobromine molecule that isn't brought to them by the person experiencing, for instance, eating the chocolate. Even if there's no we that can say. There's me and there's you and the dude over there that can say something. There's no we that can say. I'm just like to point that out and remind my listeners about this we problem, right? Okay, it's collective thinking. It's hive mind thinking. I have been told that there's a we, and therefore I think of myself as a we, right? Even if we say that chocolate is good in a purely mechanical sense, it contains chemicals the body needs, flavonols, I don't care about the chemistry here, right? Or finds a flavanol is not something you experience. That's an interpretation, that's a model, right? That's an abstraction. It doesn't contain flavonols, right? Flavonols is an attempt at describing what is there based on your experience, right? So this is also a very important problem I'm not sure that Hume actually dealt sufficiently with this, because this quote of his that has become known as the Izzard problem now, right, is sort of a afterthought of a larger picture of moral philosophy, right? So it should have been fleshed out more because it becomes so important in moral philosophy, right? So it's this afterthought kind of writing that is not as deep as precise as it might have we might have wanted it to be, right? So we should also take caution in not over-interpreting and all putting. I mean, you have to be careful about at least describe how very clearly how you understand this quote. This guy obviously doesn't. He just regurgitates. You can't get an ought from an is, right? That's stupid, man, right? At least you could give the guy the credit of showing the fucking quote and, deciphering the quote and tell us how you understand the words he uses, right? Tryptophan, caffeine. There is no way to determine from the facts alone whether we ought to eat it or what point we ought to stop. Can you experience tryptophan? Or have you just been told that there's something in there is called tryptophan? Can you open a fucking bar of chocolate and say, hey, look, there's tryptophan? So how is it a fact if you can't experience it? I mean, tell me whether you can experience that fucking tryptophan, right? What color does it have? Is it brown like chocolate? It's like you're just regurgitating what somebody else told you. Somebody told you there's phenylethylamine in this stuff. And therefore you say, somebody told me there's phenylethylamine in there. And therefore it's a fact because trust the science, right? It's not a fact. Because you're not experiencing it, right? And if you can experience phenylethylamine, then please tell me how you do it. Tell me what color it has, what sound it has, and or, color and or sound and or taste and so on, right? How do you get to it? Oh no, but I read in a book that says that there's something called this in it, and therefore I trust the science, right? Bullshit. This applies to everything, even life itself. Is life good? Oh man, oh man, is life good? Give me a fucking break, man. Oh man. Okay, I had some, at least I had some higher hopes for this one, right? How to find an odd in the, what was the title, right? Oh man, oh, okay. Meaningful. Whatever answer we give, let's not give we, right? We give to that question. Why doesn't he say, no, whatever answer I give to that question? What is it? What? Whatever answer we give to that question hasn't been discovered in the isolated facts. You can't discover something. You can't say that something hasn't been discovered that we haven't questioned yet. You're combining future and past. What are you doing, man? Yeah, you're probably an academic because you have to be an academic to write stupid shit like this, right? Which is why people with lives that are good in a purely factual sense, the rich, for example, the comfortable people, the clever people, so often declare life is meaningless up here. Oh, so now we're going into meaning. Get to the fucking point, man. Or appear to us as meaningless people. Appear to who? You just said we. Doesn't that entail all people? Now you're saying that there's these people over there that are rich. They have no meaning in life. Yeah, that's what all the poor people say, right? Oh, this is crap, man. Holy shit. Okay. It's also why it is impossible to reason people out of their values. And why? How do you get to that? It's impossible to reason people out of their values. But why would you want to do that? Do you want people to reason you out of your values? Whatever those values are, that you haven't clarified what they are, right? You haven't clarified what you mean by values. You're apparently attempting to bridge somewhere where you can say, look, there's a value. Apparently. I don't know, but something like that, right? Have you ever tried to argue with someone that the life they hate is actually good? No, I haven't, and I wouldn't try to, right? Well, how would I know, right? Because what you're trying to do there is actually bridge the Hume-Scissor gap without apparently clarifying how you get to that. Argue, what do you mean by argue? Do you say, you have to be more like this? Or are you saying, do this or do that? Without clarifying how you get to it, right? I have observed you're doing this, and I have observed that you're doing that, but I think you should do this or that instead, right? Maybe it's just clarifying that that's what people are trying to do, but embedded in the thinking is that people don't realize they are actually just violating Hume's scissor gap here, right? And therefore they are attempting to do something on a false. I could go with that maybe, right? But it's sort of, why do you make this convoluted shit here, right? Is it to talk down to me and think, have you ever tried this? No, I agree, it's hard to convince people of doing something different. Okay, so we are all ready. So you understand where I'm coming from? Yes. So he's sort of manipulating, grooming you into accepting whatever might come later here, right? I feel so slightly groomed here. Have you ever tried to rationally, what is rationally explain? What's the difference between explain and rationally explain? Please enlighten me, right? To someone that they've done something wrong. How do you know it's wrong? You can't jump into this argumentation without having told me what you mean by wrong, man. So you're very, very bordering on violating the gap in order to explain something about it. I have my expectations were way too high for this, man. You may have shown them something they did not know by using a rational argument. But a rational argument, does that entail you implant knowledge in somebody else? Don't they have to experience empirically what it is you claim to know? If you say elephant and point somewhere, and I look there and say, I don't see any fucking elephant, right? You're not going to tell me. You are implanting your knowledge in me and say, you have to obey my knowledge. There's an elephant. And you better fucking change your whatever. Fuck off. I need to experience the same thing that you're experiencing. Otherwise, you're some kind of, god of knowledge that can go around telling people you should know this and you should know that. And it sort of also reeks from his prior reference to these chemicals that are apparently a part of chocolate without him having experienced it, right? So it's trust your masters who tell you this. Don't buy into that. Always think for yourself. If you don't know it, you don't know it, right? Don't let anybody else tell you what you know, because they can't. You have to experience it empirically, right? Okay. All of this might seem terribly theoretical. Oh yes, you little people. You're too stupid to understand this big thing. I have to try to get a few steps down from my ivory tower in order to tell you this important stuff. I try to find the lowest common denominator so you might have a chance to understand it. But I'm an academic. Yes, I'm an academic. Yes, I have this cross to bear that I'm surrounded by stupid people. I have to explain this important philosophy to. But it is at the heart of so many of our problems. No, now it's our problems, right? Why don't you talk about your own problems rather than lumping me into your problems, right? Speak for yourself, man. from personal misunderstandings right up to social catastrophes. It's the reason why the cleverness that the world values so highly can never clear up the mess it has created. The world? What is the world? What is that the world values? Can the world, what is the world? Is that the universe? Can the universe value highly something and make a mess? Give me a fucking break, a load of bollocks, man, right? Holy shit, man. It's at the very heart of the lies we are surrounded by. Oh, look, there's a lie over there. I'm surrounded. There's another lie over there. I'm surrounded by lies. Oh, it's a metaphor. Okay, yeah. Let's consider a few more examples. Have you noticed the way that every authority in the world, governments, from governments to corporations to schools to councils, well, I don't like authorities, right? I don't like authorities. I like when people have some kind of, they're good at something, right? I mean, my dentist is an authority of dentistry. I'm not going to tell him how to drill my teeth, right? Or put a stuff my teeth, whatever, change, pull out my teeth, whatever I need, right? I am not going to tell him how to do that, right? But I am selecting him. That particular dentist, I want him to do my teeth, right? Because I consider him an authority beyond what I can do, right? But I don't want to be forced to pay him. An authority is not somebody you are forced to authorize you, right? Then it's not an authority. Then it's just a gang of thugs, right? And the government is just somebody saying, you have to pay for my life and I have to, boss you around. I don't give a shit about these people, right? They can suck my dick. I'd rather, you can lick my ass, right? Stay away from my dick. In fact, stay away from my ass also. You never know what kind of people you are, right? You can eat my garbage, goddamn. Schools is just indoctrination camps, right? They're concentration camps for kids while the parents are forced to go out and work for the government, right? Councils, I don't know what you're referring to there, right? Appeals to the science. Yeah, well, that's a good one, right? We have to do such and such a thing. What's a thing then? What do you mean by a thing? Can you do a thing? If I do this, that's a doing, right? I'm waving. Is that have I done a thing now? Is this a thing? Is my hand? But this is an interpretation. Waving is an interpretation, right? So doing is an interpretation. It's not a thing. Or you have to buy such and such a thing because of the science. Or something is dangerous, or someone is wrong because they are against the science. He is appealing to the COVID vaccination shit, right? I would think. Okay, what does this mean? What is the science? And why is it so wrong to be against it? But who says it's wrong to be against it? Aren't you presupposing here? Aren't you presupposing that there's some wrongness or an againstness and that it could be wrong? But why is it so wrong? You haven't identified what you mean by wrongness, man, right? I mean, can you fucking put any philosophy together, man, right? This is stupid, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. I had higher hopes for this, man. Holy shit, it's crap. Actually, the science just means the literal facts. But how do you get to facts? Please, Mr. Allen, or whoever your name was, right? Please tell me what you mean by facts and how you get to them, right? Somebody telling you this is a fact doesn't make you having that fact. All you know for a fact is somebody telling you about something they claim to be a fact. Right? Have you experienced COVID? No, but COVID is a virus, right? Have you experienced the virus? No. Nobody has experienced the fucking virus, right? Because you can't experience it. And that's exactly why you can use it in this fucking COVID operation called COVID-19, right? That's why you need to do metaphysics, rigid, quality metaphysics, and good epistemology, and arrive at a fucking kitchen knife sharp definition of knowledge and facts before you start even venturing into solving Hume's Isord gap, right? Because you haven't got the basis covered here. Certainly, the science just means the literal facts, and it means the logical relationship between the facts. Certainly very useful, only an idiot doesn't learn to grasp facts and rationality think about them. Rationality think about them. But there is no quality there, none at all. It's kind of convoluted. It's sort of polemic. I don't like this fluffy word salad kind of thing. Why don't you just get to the point, right? Put it in tables. Give me definitions and so on. Give me something tangible rather than this, soup kitchen of words, right? Should you eat less meat? Should you send your children to school? Should you... Oh, man. Should you stop using your car? Should we lock down society? Should we lock down? What about me? Tell me your address. I'm going to come and lock you down because I have facts, right? I have some facts. I need to lock you down. Tell me where you live. I'm going to fucking lock you down, man, right? Oh, no. It's only the masters. It's only the authorities, right? So you are actually implicitly appealing to authority here, man, right? An authority that bosses you around without having the fucking any clue they're violating Hume, right? Why don't you go talk to your masters instead of talking to me, right? Grab your nearest politician or go to the prime minister and say, you have no fucking clue about Hume's Isord, right? You're bossing people around, telling them what to do without having any fucking qualia. Should you eat this manuka honey? Should we impose a no-fly zone over Ukraine? Is it true that to make an informed decision about these things and an infinite number of other such questions, we do need information? We need the scientific facts, which is why people who do not want us to make an informed decision work so hard to deprive us the facts. Oh, so this is one who have been told by his masters, this is a fact. Trust the science. You have been trained in order to, when people say the magic word science, you just obey the fucking orders, right? Give me a fucking break, man. But even if we had all the facts, all the facts, do you know how many facts there are? So if you don't know what it means to have all the facts, how can you fabulate about having all the facts, even if we had all the facts? What is a fact? You haven't even clarified what you mean by a fact, right? If that were possible, and it's not, there is no way that they can tell us what to do, because there is no ought that can be found in an is. Exactly. That is what you think you're arguing, but you can't just extract an ought from any kind of description, right? Now, politicians don't even have an is, right? They just have some, crazy ideas in their head, and then they start to order people around in order to get their money, right? So they're violating everything they possibly can, right? Thinking that some person has the overview of what the 10, 20, 80, 250 million people want or need is a beyond crazy. Trusting a set of psychopaths to take care of people is like letting the fox guard the henhouse, right? Let me see how far again. But even if we had all the facts, yes, if that were possible, we wouldn't be one step closer to knowing whether something was good or bad. No. Unless you can bridge the gap, right? And then please tell me how you do it, right? Okay, that's exactly why the science is so important, because the people who constantly harp on about it either don't know what is good or bad, or they don't want you to know. They want you to believe that the little facts contain the quality they are telling you they have. In this rational scientists rational scientists are no different to religious priests who do exactly the same thing. I have no fucking clue what is going on here, man. He's just rambling on about his anxiety or fears and his mass media, what's it called, mainstream media propaganda indoctrination, right? What the fuck, man? You have no sensitivity towards what you're doing here, mate, right? You need to go back and read the fucking quote. And you need to do some serious epistemology and metaphysics and epistemology, right? I mean, maybe it comes later here, but why are you being so polemic? All these, preconceived ideas. Why not just get to the point, man? Right? Religion is also all about facts, and people who promote religions are all about making others believe those facts contain quality. Some modern religions aim to be literally or rationally true. These include modern Western Buddhism, Stoicism, and Shamanism, all of which are shorn of their more fanciful, I don't give a flying fuck about religion, man, right? Give me some philosophy, right? Are you trying to appeal to somebody? Yeah, I'm religious, so I might want to listen into your Hume or distinction, Holy Grail here, right? You're trying to rally all the crazies behind you. The miraculous floating Buddha, Zeus at the heart of the Stoicism, and the various madcap exploits of shamanic gods. Actually, I get a Stefan Molyneux kind of feeling here, right? It's sort of just, he likes to hear himself talk. Look, I put words together, right? Look, mommy, isn't it nice? I'm so good at putting words together. I'm an academic, mommy. Okay, we are closing in on the 1 hour mark, so maybe I should, let me take another one here. But there is no quality in any of these ponderous literalist systems, which is why they are impotent before moral crisis and unproductive of quality, or to put it another way, why their adherents, academics and writers of the modern professional class, are bland, moral cowards and unable to produce anything original, concealing their mediocrity behind clever theorizing, trivial, self-regarding confessions, and a ceaseless torrent of empty ideas and quotation. Okay, so this is clearly, what I'm hearing here is a sophist, right? It's somebody who really loves to hear himself talk, right? It's more important for him to put some useless, half-bashing, sophist-like word salad together rather than getting to the point, right? This is sort of Stefan Molyneux level kind of useless babble that is sort of just throwing shit left and right, in no particular direction. And sort of you're left there, okay, I guess he has some point there somewhere, I guess he get the steam off, right? It's not, that's not what I want in my philosophy. I want some fucking strict, neutral, straight to the point kind of philosophy. Why does it always have to be wrapped in this shit of word salad, right? Give me the fucking steak. I want it now. I don't want all the word salad, right? Okay, this is part 1 of this deconstruction. It's probably going to be a 3 or 4 parter. Let's see how deep the rabbit hole goes here, right? And otherwise, please share, like, and subscribe, and consider donation or consider the board links below. And otherwise, have a nice day. See you in the next one.